Carol Burnett, one of the most beloved entertainers in American history, spent over a decade making millions of people laugh every week with her groundbreaking variety show. For 11 remarkable seasons, from 1967 to 1978, The Carol Burnett Show delivered joy, absurdity, and unforgettable characters to an average of 30 million viewers per episode. It was more than just television. It was a cultural phenomenon that redefined variety programming and proved a woman could helm a major primetime hit in an era dominated by men. The show earned critical acclaim, shattered expectations, and inspired future generations of comedians, including the creators of Saturday Night Live. Yet amid all the laughter, one particular episode in 1977 stood out for an entirely different reason. It didn't just elicit chuckles, it moved an entire studio crew to tears and left audiences heartbroken. Critics hailed it as brilliant and raw, and awards followed. But Carol Burnett herself refused to watch it again, not once in the nearly 50 years since it aired. She described it as too real, explaining that the pain portrayed in the sketch mirrored her own life experiences far too closely. She couldn't bear to see herself in that vulnerable, unfiltered light. This moment encapsulated the duality of Burnett's career, a master of comedy who carried profound personal sorrow beneath the surface, using humor as both a shield and a bridge to connect with others. To fully appreciate why that 1977 sketch hit so hard, we must journey back to the beginning of Carol Burnett's life, a story marked by hardship, resilience, and an early discovery that laughter could be a lifeline. Born Carol Creighton Burnett on April 26, 1933, in San Antonio, Texas, she entered the world under challenging circumstances. Her parents, Joseph Thomas Burnett and Ina Louise Creighton, both struggled with alcoholism. Joseph worked as a movie theater manager but could rarely hold down a job for long due to his drinking. Ina, who had aspirations of becoming a writer, was often emotionally absent, lost in her own battles with the bottle. Both parents would eventually succumb to alcohol-related illnesses. From her earliest years, Carol learned the sting of feeling unwanted. The people who were supposed to nurture and protect her prioritized substances over stability, leaving her in an unpredictable and lonely environment. In such a fragile setting, young Carol quickly realized that humor could serve as armor. Making others laugh became a way to deflect pain, to create moments of lightness when darkness threatened to overwhelm. It was a survival skill forged in necessity, one that would later define her public persona while masking the depth of her private struggles. When her parents could no longer provide even basic care, Carol and her younger half-sister Rhea were taken in by their maternal grandmother, Mabel White. In 1940, the family relocated from Texas to Hollywood, California, not to chase stardom in the glamorous sense, but simply seeking a fresh start in a place that promised opportunity amid the movie industry buzz. Reality, however, was far from the silver screen fantasies. They lived in a cramped single room within a rundown boarding house known as the Hollywood Arms. The building housed a motley group of tenants: addicts, individuals grappling with mental health issues, and others clinging desperately to dreams while surviving on meager welfare checks. Money was excruciatingly tight. Carol and her grandmother subsisted on about $20 a week, a sum that barely covered food, let alone any luxuries. Yet in this chaos, Mabel offered something priceless: unconditional love and a sense of safety that Carol had never known. Though poverty persisted, the emotional security provided a foundation for the young girl to begin imagining a different future. Amid the peeling paint, occasional shouting, and constant uncertainty, Carol developed creative escapes to cope. She invented an imaginary twin sister named Karen, confident, beautiful, and perpetually smiling, everything Carol felt she lacked. This alter ego became so vivid that Carol would dash up the fire escape, quickly change her clothes and hairstyle, and re-emerge as Karen, charming the other tenants with playful energy. Remarkably, many adults in the building, themselves barely holding on, bought into the illusion. They engaged with Karen as if she were real, highlighting not only Carol's budding acting talent, but also the collective hunger for joy and distraction in that struggling community. These performances were more than child's play. They were early rehearsals for a life on stage where transforming into someone else could temporarily alleviate personal burdens. Escapes extended beyond imagination to the local movie theater. Every Saturday, Carol and her grandmother would scrape together 25 cents, more than 10% of their weekly budget, for 2 tickets. For those precious hours in the darkened auditorium, the harsh realities faded. On screen, worlds sparkled with dance, romance, abundance, and order. Stars lived glamorous lives filled with beauty and resolution. But when the lights came up and the credits rolled, survival mode resumed. The family was so impoverished that they sometimes quietly took toilet paper from the theater bathroom, an act born not of shame, but sheer desperation. Even as a 7-year-old, Carol grasped the profound hunger for more than mere sustenance, for dignity, opportunity, and a sense of belonging.
One Saturday, a sound from the screen changed everything. Johnny Weissmuller's iconic Tarzan yell reverberated through the theater, striking Carol like a bolt of inspiration. At home, she practiced it obsessively, mimicking every nuance of pitch, volume, and rhythm. Unbeknownst to her, this playful imitation was honing her vocal control and breath support, skills that professional singers and performers cultivate over years. It started as innocent fun, but evolved into a signature element of her comedy. Years later, that same Tarzan yell would bring down houses during live performances, eliciting roars of laughter and applause. What began as a child's fascination with a movie hero became one of her earliest comedic tools, demonstrating how seemingly small moments can plant seeds for greatness. By high school, Carol harbored a clear ambition: journalism. This dream stemmed partly from her mother's unfulfilled desire to write, creating a sense of obligation to complete what Ina could not. She set her sights on UCLA, but enrollment brought a crushing obstacle. Tuition cost around $50, a significant barrier equivalent to roughly $600 in today's terms for a family scraping by. For many in her position, this would have signaled the end of higher education. Carol faced that harsh reality squarely, wondering if her aspirations would crumble like so many before. Then, a mysterious act of kindness intervened. An anonymous stranger, whose identity she never discovered, left the exact amount needed in her mailbox or otherwise facilitated payment. No strings attached, no explanation, just pure generosity that altered her trajectory. This gesture reinforced a theme that would recur in her life: unexpected help from others when she needed it most, often with the implicit message to pay it forward someday. At UCLA, Carol initially pursued journalism, but one elective theater class transformed her path. In that classroom, something awakened within her. Shyness evaporated, feelings of poverty and invisibility dissolved. She discovered she could sing, act, and provoke laughter all in one breath, coming alive in ways she hadn't experienced before. Professors and peers took notice of her natural charisma and timing. Suddenly, the structured world of reporting felt too confining. She switched her major to theater, a risky move for someone from her background, but for the first time she wasn't merely surviving, she was actively dreaming and creating. The gamble paid dividends quickly. At the end of her freshman year, she was honored as the most promising newcomer in the theater program. This recognition wasn't just an accolade, it felt like validation, a prophecy that her instincts were sound. It bolstered her confidence to pursue bigger roles in school productions and to stop apologizing for her ambitions. One anecdote from her college years illustrates her resourcefulness and lingering hardships. At a party in San Diego, while others socialized, Carol was discreetly filling her purse with hors d'oeuvres to take home to her grandmother. A well-dressed stranger approached, not a show business figure, but a millionaire shipbuilder from La Jolla. Carol opened up about her dream of heading to New York for Broadway, but admitted she couldn't even afford the remaining UCLA tuition of about $43. The man made an extraordinary offer: $1,000 each for Carol and her then-boyfriend Don Soroyan, sometimes spelled Soyan in accounts. He imposed 3 simple rules: never reveal his name, use the funds solely to reach New York and pursue their goals, and if successful, help others in turn. He explained that someone had once aided him anonymously, and he was repaying that kindness. His wife later confirmed he had quietly supported dreamers in various fields, from gas station attendants to aspiring artists. With $2,000 in hand, Carol and Don left UCLA behind in 1954 and headed east. Carol had never traveled beyond Texas, and she knew no one in the bustling metropolis. Yet she later reflected, "I didn't know enough to be scared." That blend of naivete and determination propelled her forward. Life in New York tested that resolve immediately. They checked into the Algonquin Hotel at $9 a night, but expenses mounted rapidly. At one low point, Carol broke down in tears during a collect call home, as family urged her to return. Just as doubt peaked, a radio announcement mentioned a hurricane named Carol approaching the coast. She interpreted it as a personal sign, drawing strength to persevere. Soon she found refuge at the rehearsal club, an old boarding house for aspiring young actresses. For $18 a week, she shared a cot in a room with 4 others, with limited facilities, 1 bathroom and 1 closet. Compared to her previous couch surfing at home, it felt like paradise. The atmosphere crackled with ambition, girls rehearsing lines, singing scales, dashing about with curlers in their hair. To cover costs, Carol worked nights as a hat check girl while auditioning by day. It was grueling but authentic, immersing her in the raw energy of theatrical pursuit. In March 1955, the residents staged the rehearsal club review and invited agents and producers. Notable figures including Marlene Dietrich attended. That performance cracked open doors. Carol's breakthrough arrived through an unlikely vehicle, a satirical love song about John Foster Dulles, the stern U.S. Secretary of State, penned by Ken Welch. The over-the-top, absurd numbers showcased her impeccable delivery and comedic precision. Audiences erupted, leading to appearances on The Jack Parr Show and The Ed Sullivan Show. On January 6, 1957, she stepped onto the Sullivan stage with trembling knees, but by the finale, the crowd was in stitches. She returned in August to perform the Dulles song again, alongside a parody of Puppy Love. That ridiculous ballad catapulted her into New York comedy conversations. For the next several years, she hustled through smaller roles, including a part on The Paul Winchell Show in 1955 as Fifth Timothy Dummy's girlfriend, and alongside Buddy Hackett in the short-lived Stands.
Everything shifted in 1959. Carol secured the lead in Once Upon a Mattress, a fresh off-Broadway musical that transferred to Broadway. She portrayed Princess Winifred, a boisterous, clumsy girl from the swamps, far from the delicate fairy tale archetype. The production, initially a modest summer camp project, defied skeptics. Critics were lukewarm at its May 1959 debut, but audiences adored it, sustaining 470 performances across multiple theaters. Carol's vibrant, physical performance proved pivotal. When she departed the cast in June 1960, the show faltered quickly, with her replacement lasting only 8 performances before closing. She earned her first Tony Award nomination for Best Leading Actress in a Musical, a milestone that affirmed her Broadway potential. Symbolically, on June 22, 1959, precisely 5 years after receiving the anonymous loan, Carol and Don repaid the full $2,000. The benefactor never responded or sought recognition, embodying quiet generosity. Financially, Carol was now earning $500 weekly, a fortune by her standards. Her trajectory accelerated with The Gary Moore Show from 1959 to 1962, with the series itself running longer. Here, she evolved from promising talent to television staple, winning her first Emmy in 1962. Her iconic cleaning lady character resonated deeply, but the show's broader influence lay in its lessons. Gary Moore's spontaneous audience warm-up Q&A sessions inspired the interactive segments that would later hallmark The Carol Burnett Show. The program also boosted careers of stars like Don Knotts and Jonathan Winters, serving as a masterclass in timing, character work, and creative risk. A pivotal collaboration emerged in 1962 with the CBS special Julie and Carol at Carnegie Hall, co-starring Julie Andrews. Network executives hesitated, doubting Andrews' drawing power at the time, but a serendipitous moment swayed them. After a promotional event, Carol joked about struggling to hail a taxi, quipping that a truck driver might offer a ride instead. Moments later, a truck pulled up and did exactly that. The executives saw it as destiny and greenlit the project. The special triumphed, securing multiple awards including an Emmy, and even spawned a soundtrack album that charted modestly. It showcased Carol's versatility alongside Andrews' elegance, blending song, comedy, and charm. Then, on September 11, 1967, history was made with the premiere of The Carol Burnett Show. It ran for 11 seasons until March 29, 1978, consistently drawing massive audiences and reshaping television. Few programs have achieved such sustained viewership or cultural penetration. It ranked among Time magazine's 100 best TV shows, placed high on TV Guide and variety lists, and transcended entertainment to become a weekly event. The format innovated by featuring live comedy sketches before a studio audience, influencing later staples like Saturday Night Live. Crucially, Carol broke barriers as one of the first women to lead a major variety series in a male-dominated industry, paving the way for countless female comedians and creators. Consistency defined its success, whether airing Monday nights at 10 p.m. or shifting slots. Loyal viewers tuned in without fail. Awards poured in relentlessly. Over its run, the show captured a staggering 25 Primetime Emmy Awards across categories including writing, musical material, choreography, and outstanding variety series. Supporting players shone too. Harvey Korman earned 4 Emmys for his versatile performances, 1969, 1971, 1972, and 1974, while Tim Conway secured 4 as well, 3 for acting and 1 for writing. The final 1978 season swept several honors, including Best Variety Series. Carol herself garnered 2 Golden Globes for Best Actress in a Comedy or Musical Series, 1977 and 1978, and the program won the People's Choice Award for Favorite Variety Show 3 consecutive years, 1975 to 1978. This dominance across accolades cemented its status as television royalty. Yet success masked behind-the-scenes complexities. The ensemble's chemistry fueled the magic, but tensions arose. During the 7th season, Harvey Korman grew frustrated and considered leaving. Guest stars that week included the affable Tim Conway and Petula Clark, yet Korman appeared irritable during rehearsals. Carol typically maintained harmony, but confronted him privately after taping. He admitted bluntly, "I'm just not happy here," then slammed his dressing room door. Carol contacted his agent and let him go. Over the weekend, Korman reconsidered and pleaded for reinstatement. She agreed conditionally. On Monday, he must arrive skipping and whistling down the CBS hallway. He complied exactly, prompting Carol to laugh heartily and commission a plaque for his door reading, "Mr. Happy-Go-Lucky." Korman remained through season 10, their bond strengthened. Tim Conway brought unpredictable energy. He deliberately held back in rehearsals, saving peak improvisation for live tapings, sometimes disrupting others, but yielding fresh, electric results. "Some of it comes on the spur of the moment, and some I keep in the back of my mind," he once explained. Harvey Korman observed that Conway never does anything the same way twice. The most legendary example occurred in a family sketch during an elephant story. Conway spun an increasingly absurd, lengthy circus tale, while Carol as Eunice, Vicky as Mama, and Dick Van Dyke struggled to stay composed. The rambling escalated until Vicky delivered an unexpected zinger that shattered everyone, including Conway himself, into genuine hysterics. Such unscripted bursts of laughter defined the show's soul, raw, collaborative, and alive. Not all moments were lighthearted. The recurring The Family sketches provided a vehicle for exploring dysfunction with humor, featuring Carol as the fiery, long-suffering Eunice Higgins, Vicky as the sharp-tongued Mama, and others rounding out the chaotic Southern clan. Typically blending exaggeration and relatable bickering, the series took a daring turn in 1977. One installment, often called Eunice on the Gong Show, aired February 11, 1977, with guest star Edie Gormey, stripped away the jokes. Eunice, dreaming of stardom, appears on the talent show believing her heartfelt singing will finally validate her. Instead, judges, including real-life host Alan Ludden in a guest role, mock her mercilessly. Carol performed it straight. No exaggerated accent, no slapstick, just raw vulnerability and crushed hopes. By the sketch's end, the studio crew was visibly emotional, many near tears. The camera lingered on Eunice's tear-streaked face as lights dimmed, with no punchline or musical cue, just poignant silence and heartbreak.
When broadcast, it retained its power, stunning viewers accustomed to the show's levity. Critics lauded the bravery and depth, recognizing it as a high point in television sketchwork. It contributed to the show's awards haul and later inspired a 1982 TV movie, Eunice, plus the spin-off sitcom Mama's Family. Carol, however, never revisited the episode. In interviews, including one around 2010, she confessed it felt too real. Eunice's pain echoed her own upbringing in poverty, the sting of big dreams met with dismissal or ridicule. She sympathized deeply with the character, noting in later reflections that Eunice began as somewhat witchy, but evolved into someone whose rage stemmed from profound disappointment. "I'm glad we did it," Carol said in one discussion, "but it wasn't what our show was about. We were there to make people forget their troubles, not remind them." Still, the piece left an indelible mark, proving comedy could touch profound truths without cheap laughs. Behind the spotlight, Carol's personal life mirrored the emotional layer she portrayed. Her first marriage to Don Soroyan, met at UCLA in 1952 and wed in 1955, started with shared showbiz dreams but frayed under pressure. Don had a daughter from a prior relationship who passed away, deepening his struggles with depression and alcoholism. As Carol's star rose, his stalled, straining their bond. They separated on Christmas Day 1959 and divorced in 1962. Don died in 1990 at age 62, never fully realizing his Broadway aspirations. Soon after, Carol met Joe Hamilton, a successful TV producer who had already fathered 8 children from a previous marriage. He produced her Carnegie Hall special, and they married in 1963. Together, they welcomed 3 daughters, Carrie, born 1963, Jody, and Erin, though they experienced a miscarriage in 1965. Their blended family of 11 children created a lively household, and Joe earned 5 Emmys producing The Carol Burnett Show. Professionally aligned, their home life faced strains. In 1976, the National Enquirer published a false story claiming Carol was drunk at a restaurant near Henry Kissinger. The accusation devastated her, given her vocal stance against alcoholism, rooted in her parents' issues. She sued for $1.6 million in a case lasting 5 years, exposing tabloid recklessness. A paid source had clarified she wasn't intoxicated, yet the story ran. She prevailed, though settled for around $200,000 after appeals. The victory prioritized reputation over money and influenced journalistic standards. The deepest family crisis involved daughter Carrie. In her early teens, around 1976 to 79, Carrie battled severe addiction to cocaine, marijuana, mushrooms, and quaaludes. She later explained using substances to escape the shadow of being Carol Burnett's daughter and forge her own identity. Carol navigated multiple rehabs, enduring a runaway episode from a Texas facility. Fearing permanent loss, she made the agonizing choice to enforce tough love, knowing it might breed resentment. "You have to love them enough to let them hate you," Carol reflected. They endured over a year of silence, but Carrie achieved sobriety by 17. Their relationship mended and deepened. Carrie pursued acting, landing a role on Fame, and collaborated with her mother on screen and stage. Together, they co-wrote the play Hollywood Arms, drawn from Carol's life. Tragedy struck in 2002 when Carrie, just 38, died from pneumonia complicating lung and brain cancer. She never saw the play's Broadway opening. Devastated, Carol channeled grief into completing it for Carrie, honoring her daughter's talent and their bond. Carol and Joe's marriage ended in 1984 amid accumulated strains, including Carrie's addiction and career demands. They had sent younger daughters to Hawaii temporarily to shield them. Joe remained amicable with the family until his death from cancer in 1991. Love found Carol again in the late 1990s when she met musician Brian Miller, 23 years her junior, during a Long Beach performance. They married in 2001 when she was 68 and he 45. Just months later, Carrie's death tested the union, but Brian supported her through darkness, encouraging completion of Hollywood Arms. Their partnership endured in the 2010s-2020s when daughter Erin faced her own prolonged addiction struggles, including multiple rehabs and a 2020 psychiatric hold after suicide threats. Carol and Brian assumed temporary custody of grandson Dylan to ensure his safety. Courts intervened due to unsafe conditions, and Carol once again prioritized family protection despite personal toll. Carol's career extended far beyond her variety show, showcasing remarkable range. In the 1990s, she guest starred on Mad About You as Teresa, earning an Emmy for Outstanding Guest Actress in a Comedy Series in 1997, plus American Comedy Awards, demonstrating subtle, naturalistic timing beyond broad sketches. Voice work in the 2000s reached new audiences, roles in The Trumpet of the Swan 2001 alongside Reese Witherspoon and others, and especially Horton Hears a Who 2008 with Jim Carrey and Steve Carell, which grossed nearly $300 million. Her warm, witty delivery translated seamlessly to animation.
Broadway called her back in 1999 for Stephen Sondheim's review Putting It Together at the Ethel Barrymore Theater. Opening November 21st, it ran 101 performances, plus previews. Carol played the wife, opposite luminaries like George Hearn and John Barrowman. 30 years after her last Broadway stint, she commanded the stage effortlessly, improvising when her skirt malfunctioned mid-performance and turning it into comedic gold. Critics praised her handling of complex music, despite mixed reviews for the show overall. A filmed version preserved these moments. Even in her 80s and 90s, Carol defied age. In 2022, at 89, she appeared in the final season of Better Call Saul as Marion, a sharp yet kind elderly woman who uncovers Saul Goodman's deceptions. In the episode Waterworks, she methodically searches online, using Ask Jeeves in character, delivering the devastating line, "I trusted you," with quiet intensity. The tension peaked as Saul contemplated drastic measures, but Marion's calm activation of her life alert button sealed the moment. Co-creator Vince Gilligan called writing a scene implying harm to her character awful, labeling her an American treasure. Critics deemed it one of the series' most chilling highlights, showcasing her dramatic depth.
In 2024, at 91, she starred in Apple TV Plus's Calm Royale as Norma Della Corte, a wealthy Palm Beach socialite mostly in a coma who awakens to deliver physical comedy and improvised gibberish dialogue mimicking speech recovery. Her work earned an Emmy nomination for Outstanding Supporting Actress in a Comedy Series, the oldest woman ever nominated in that category. The star-studded cast included Kristen Wiig, Ricky Martin, Laura Dern, and Allison Janney, yet Carol stood out, introducing her legacy to fresh viewers. The series earned 11 nominations overall. At over 90, she continued performing with vitality, proving 7 decades of experience only sharpened her instincts. Carol Burnett's journey, from an impoverished Hollywood boarding house to television icon, Broadway star, and late-career dramatic force, embodies resilience, generosity, and the transformative power of humor. She turned personal pain into art that healed millions, while protecting her own vulnerabilities. That 1977 sketch remains a testament to her courage, willing to confront darkness on screen even when it mirrored her soul too closely. Through laughter and tears, triumphs and heartbreaks, she reminded the world that comedy's greatest gift often lies in its honesty. Her story continues to inspire, showing how one woman's refusal to let hardship define her could light up screens, stages, and lives for generations. From the Tarzan yell of childhood to the quiet power of her later roles, Carol Burnett didn't just entertain. She connected, endured, and endured with grace. Her legacy, built on 11 years of weekly magic and a lifetime of quiet strength, ensures that America's funniest woman will be remembered not only for the laughs, but for the profound humanity beneath them.